This is Support is Sexy, episode 216, with Eddie Desormeau, CEO of the PR firm DE 1989. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I interview inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and their lessons to help you take your business and your life to the next level and create something sexy. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm so excited to have you here because it just would not be the same without you. And today we are welcoming Miss Eddie Desormeau. And Eddie is the founder and CEO of the fabulous boutique PR firm DE 1989. And Eddie works with clients like Rue 107, the fashion line, and Ascania Chocolate, both of whom, the ladies who are the founders of those companies, have been on the Support is Sexy podcast. So you want to make sure you go back and listen to their episodes. But Eddie works with those ladies and clients like VP Records. She has a great variety of clients that she works with in her agency. What I asked Eddie to come on the show to talk about, though, in addition to that, and in addition to her journey of going from working at an agency herself to launching her own PR firm, she recently launched these workshops that are public relations fundamentals. She is explaining different parts of public relations, social media, also what to look for as a public relations client, whether you work with her or with someone else. So it's open to the public. I just think it's a fantastic idea. So I know you're going to love hearing from Eddie. So on this episode, what she shares with us is the value of taking a step back and deciding what you really want when you're deciding on your career path, lessons about the importance of self-care. You know, I'm all about it. How to know when it's time to move on, and the important list that you need to make before you quit your job. I thought that was a good one. What public relations is and what it is not. How to get new clients. Also, what indicators to look for to select the right networking events. How to get exposure for your business. The importance of getting clear on your story for your business. I always say you have to have a brand story. What's your story? And everybody has one. That's something to remember. Sometimes I ask people for their story and they say, I don't have a story. Everyone has a story. And Eddie also talks about why you have to decide that you're enough. So I know you're going to love this episode. Make sure to go to supportissexypodcast.com so you can get links to the resources that Eddie mentions in here, especially the links that'll take you to the page where you can register to be a part of her workshops if you're in the New York area. And they're planning to expand so that people will be able to find them online. All right. So now, without further ado, Eddie Desormeau. So Eddie, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Excellent. So first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
When did I first fall in love? I can't pinpoint the moment. I've always been surrounded by amazing entrepreneurs. I guess it's really just ingrained in me. It's something that I grew up watching, witnessing. So I grew up in Haiti. Moved to the U.S. when I was 12, which was like yesterday. I'm still very young. My grandmother in Haiti, she's here in the U.S. now, but in Haiti, she made uniforms and clothing for people in our neighborhood. One of my aunts always catered and made the most beautiful special occasion cakes. Another aunt owned a bakery. Fast forward to high school, I worked at a bed and breakfast throughout all 4 years. Preston Lewis, who owned the bakery. Preston Lewis, who owned the Lewis House, which is the name of the bed and breakfast, made sure to expose me to every aspect of running that particular business. If I had to pinpoint when I fell in love with entrepreneurship, I would say it was high school working at the Lewis House. Preston is an engineer. His wife, Diane, is an educator. Somehow they managed to make the time to run this gorgeous bed and breakfast year round. I don't think I realized this until you asked me this question. I really think that's the point where I fell in love with entrepreneurship.
Do you think it was seeing someone create their own business and run their own business, or were you interested at that time in bed and breakfast, hospitality, or that kind of thing? What do you think was the interest for you at that time? Do you remember?
I became interested in hospitality at that time. At the time, as a high school student being raised by a single mother, my interest was money. How do I make money to buy the things that I want that my mom wouldn't get me? Rightfully so. I was in a bratty teenager. I was always very well behaved, but I was always into fashion. I had to have the latest of everything. And my mom was very much, well, if you want it, you got to work for it. So I started looking for different gigs in the small town that we lived in at the time, Boston Spa. My mom still lives there, and I'm here in New York City now. But yes, money was the motivation, and money's always a good motivation, right? I fell in love with hospitality. I fell in love with entrepreneurship at that point. Luckily, I had the pleasure of working for someone like Preston Lewis, who became a great mentor.
What would you say a young Eddie was like growing up in Haiti?
Growing up in Haiti, that's so funny. You know, my sisters would find this really funny. Growing up, I was actually really shy and timid, quiet. I was a very smart girl, top of my class. I remember we were taking English courses. I always hated English. That was my least favorite subject. By the time I moved to the U.S., I think I knew just 3 words. Wednesday, for some reason, was my favorite day of the week. Thank you and I love you. More than 3 words, but it was interesting. Yeah, shy, quiet, kept to myself. And then all of a sudden, I blossomed into this not so shy woman anymore who just won't ever stop talking. Whenever I tell someone that at my core I'm a very shy, timid person, they're like, what, where, who, when?
It's different when you're working or doing something where you have to be sort of out there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely broke out of my shell.
How did you learn the language? Was it just being immersed in American culture and around English-speaking people? Because you said you knew 3 words or phrases at that time.
Being immersed in the culture definitely helped. By the time we moved to the U.S., I was entering the 6th grade. I remember when my mom told me that I would be starting school the next week, I almost died. I had it set in my mind that I would learn English first, and then I would go to school. Nope, I was thrown in right away. So I got here, started 6th grade. Before the end of 7th grade, I would say that I was already fluent, which myself and a lot of people were very impressed by, something that really helped. Luckily, I was in a household with a lot of young children who were watching Elmo and Dora the Explorer and Between the Lines on PBS. I found myself watching those shows along with them, and that really helped.
Yeah.
You know, I learned English as my younger little cousins and my younger little sister was learning to speak, period.
That's funny. I wonder if English is one of the only languages or one of the few languages that are like that, because a lot of people say they learn from television or just being around people, whereas if you go to other languages, I know French is much harder to learn. And maybe you can pick it up from television. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that smart. But a lot of people, have to study it in order to pick up the proper accents and that kind of thing.
I think anytime you're immersed in the culture, you'll pick it up. As you know, French is the 2nd language, if not the official language of Haiti. So throughout my schooling, everything was done in French. And once we moved to the U.S., instead of taking Spanish or another language as a 2nd language, I took the easy way out. I took French.
You did?
Yes. Which I do regret a little. I should have been fluent in Spanish by now. But what I was going to say is I eventually spent a few months in France, and I feel like spending those months there was similar to when I had just moved to the US. Being immersed in the culture definitely helped my fluency in French. So to answer your question, I don't think it's just English. Also to that point, so when we first moved to the US, we lived in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I took ESL courses with students from all over Latin America, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, not Brazil. Yeah, actually, there were a few Brazilians in my class. But the point is, in sitting in class and learning English with them, I started to learn their languages. I became fairly fluent in Spanish, but once we left Florida, I lost it.
Yeah, I can see that now that you said that, because my best friend April, she grew up she's from Jamaica, but grew up for many years in the Bronx, and she was fluent in Spanish because there were a lot of Puerto Rican families in the Bronx. So she knew conversational Spanish, but then once she moved, she lost it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So tell me, who were some of your greatest influences growing up?
Some of my greatest influences, I would definitely go back to Preston Lewis, who was one of my first bosses in high school. I have so many. Someone's definitely going to be mad that I did not mention them today. So I'll do the usual. I have to say Oprah as a blanket statement. But on a serious note, I would run home every day after school to watch the Oprah Winfrey Show. Mm-hmm. I feel like watching Oprah was my after school programming. Oprah raised me.
Oprah raised me.
Yes. I've had quite a few. My mother has been amazing. You know, she came here with 3 kids on her arms. We relied heavily on family and friends for assistance. She has been an amazing trooper. And speaking of learning English, my mom, she must have been watching those shows with me while I was at the English really fast. Compared to the moms of the other kids in my school, mm-hmm. compared to other family members, she picked up on the language fast, and she's done amazing things for herself in the short years that we've lived in the U.S. She's been a great influence because a lot of immigrant children, especially children of West Indians, have stories of their parents pushing them towards traditional jobs, traditional businesses. Mm-hmm. She was never that parent. She always said, if this is what you want to do, go for it. Even though she suffered a little heart attack when I told her I was leaving my full-time job to start my own business. Mm-hmm. She did her best to support. It's so funny. When I told her, she was very supportive, but later on, one of my sisters said to me, "Oh, you know, she's really worried. She just didn't want to show you that she was." Mm-hmm. But she's very supportive. She's one of those people who was like, "Okay, you want to study advertising marketing? I don't understand it, but I'll take you around to those college campuses so we can visit." While my other friends, their parents were pushing them towards nursing or a medicine of some sort. Medicine titles, rather, jobs of some sort. She's been very supportive and open-minded about my career choices.
How did you first become interested in advertising? Is that what you studied when you went to FIT?
Yes, I studied advertising, marketing, communications. I was always intrigued. It's so funny. Throughout middle school and early high school, I thought I would go into fashion design. But I became very intrigued by the world of advertising as a whole. I took my first marketing course while I was still in high school and was just enamored by how all of this works. I remember I loved magazines, still love magazines. I'm the only person I know who would flip through a magazine and actually read the ads the same way people read the actual articles. Mm. I actually did not know there was an industry of advertising. One of my teachers in high school, who happened to be that marketing teacher, introduced me to the industry and made me realize, okay, if you're interested in fashion and you're interested in advertising, FIT has a great program that you should look into. And from then on, just about every counselor, whether it was at my high school or at other colleges that I was looking at, suggested I'd look into the FIT program. Funny enough, Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yes, I applied. I got in. I did one too many internships throughout college. I had 6 internships throughout college in different areas.
Did you have them at the same time? Like some at the same time?
Oh, I had to juggle a lot. It was primarily one per semester, but at some point I was working part-time, interning while going to school full-time.
Why were all the internships important to you?
Well, another reason why I chose FIT is because I wanted to be in New York City. And while I was in New York City, I wanted to absorb as much as possible, be exposed to as much as possible. I wanted to test every area of the industry possible so that by the time I graduated, I would know for sure what I wanted to do. That wasn't necessarily the case by the time I graduated, but I loved having that 360 view of what goes on and how it gets done. I just wanted to take it all in. Mm-hmm. I wanted to leave nothing behind.
And internships is a great way to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So what did you think then once you graduated from school? Was your family still in Miami, or they were in New York too at that time?
By then, my mom and my younger sisters, I'm one of 6 girls, by the way.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask you how many siblings you have. 6 girls. Wow.
Yes. I have 2 older sisters from my father's side, and then there's 3 younger sisters. I can't count all of a sudden. 3 younger sisters that they're hard to keep track of on my mother's side of the family.
Wow. Your mom raised you all by herself.
My mom, we have an interesting family story that would be for a different podcast, a different time. We have a blended family. For the majority of my formative years, my mom was alone. Her husband spent the majority of my formative years in Haiti. Mm-hmm. So our years in the U.S., or my years in the U.S. rather, were spent with him in Haiti. He did not move here until I was already off to college.
Wow. Yay, Mom. 6 girls. That's wonderful. Did all of your sisters, I'm just curious, go into, as you mentioned earlier, more quote unquote traditional positions or traditional careers as far as nursing and medicine and those kinds of things? Or did everyone kind of venture off into their own? It sounds like your mom encouraged you and your siblings to do what you really felt you wanted to do.
She did, but the part of the unique story is my 2 older sisters are from my father's side of the family. They were raised by my stepmom. My oldest sister, Jennifer, went into accounting following my father's footsteps. She eventually left accounting because she preferred nursing. My sister, Soraya, went into psychology. And then there's myself and my younger sisters. Funny enough, my younger sisters, my youngest sister's still in high school. So the jury's out on her. Love her. Love her to death. Smart, bright, intelligent young woman. I wish I was only half as smart as she is. When I was in high school. So both my sister Stephanie is in public affairs. She works for an amazing agency based in DC with an office here in New York City. My sister Kim is in public policy at Airbnb.
Wow, that's amazing. So for you graduated from FIT, and then did you feel like, now what? What was your next move?
By the time I was graduating FIT, I remember that last semester in college was the toughest for me because I was I was interning at Louis Vuitton at the time. I was working part-time at Tommy Hilfiger while making sure I earn all my stripes in school and graduate on time. By the time I was graduating, I was just happy it was over with. I wasn't even worried about a job because I had my part-time job. I just wanted a break. I wanted a little vacation. Once I was ready to start looking for that career opportunity, I started searching, and luckily someone I had met while interning at Louis Vuitton brought me in to work at Louis Vuitton's ad agency. So the lesson there for me was, even though I had driven myself crazy doing all these internships in college, by the time I graduated, rest was very important.
And giving and allowing yourself that time, because a lot of times we feel afraid that we need to jump into something right away.
Exactly.
So was it from the agency that you then decided to start your own agency? How did you make that transition to creating DE 1989?
So all the while going to school, having my internships, and now starting my first career, my first entry-level job, I was assisting my friends with their passion projects, their side businesses. I worked on an amazing team, worked on an amazing group of clients. I was exposed to a lot right away. I got to work on amazing projects, amazing campaigns that most people at my level, at my age at the time, were not, I hate to use the word lucky, but for lack of better terms, were not lucky enough to work on. But it became the same story that I'm sure you've heard over and over again of being overworked and underpaid. So I became frazzled really fast. Our team was understaffed. It quickly became a very unsexy job, no matter how glamorous it was on the outside. So by the time I was leaving, I went into retirement. I had a mini retirement where yet again, I felt like I had overworked myself at a very young age. I was working crazy hours, and I just needed another break. So I went upstate New York to Boston Spa, spent a couple months with my mom, visited the bed and breakfast where I worked throughout high school. And from there, I went abroad. I traveled. I spent 3 months traveling Europe. I spent the majority of that time in France, just figuring things out, just resting.
Wow.
And
now you had been at the company for how long by that point?
I had been at the company for about a year and a half. And at this point, that year and a half might as well have been 6 years.
Because you had done so much during that time.
I was doing so much. I was working crazy long days. It was a lot of fun, but you get burnt out real quick.
Now, how did you manage to be able to support yourself with all the traveling and the great things that you were able to do? Because I know a lot of people would love to take a break like that where you can travel abroad. And, well, the bed and breakfast, I know you know the family and that kind of thing, and your own family, of course. But what was it? What did you work on projects and things during that time, or did you completely take the time off?
I completely took the time off. I had saved, so I had this planned out in my head for a solid 6 months. So I had saved quite a bit. I was very frugal, did not go out unless I was being treated by someone. No shame. I saved my pennies. I had a roommate at the time. I moved out and moved in with one of my sisters who very lovingly agreed to let me live rent-free. Very grateful for that. So I was able to save a lot of money to be able to take a solid 6 to 8 months off.
Wow. And what did that experience do for you, just being able to really take that time? Because that's a good chunk of time to be able to take off and figure things out.
That really showed me the importance of making time for family, the importance of self-care. We're taught to get into this rat race where our career comes first, corporate America and success comes first. We forget that we weren't put on this. I'm going to sound like this hippy dippy chick now, but we were put on this earth to work a 9 to 5 and fall into these lanes that we don't necessarily have to conform to that. We're put here to love and live, not to work. It was great to see the mentality of the Europeans. It was great to just be in the moment, and just, it was sort of my eat, pray, love trip, so to speak. The lesson there was really to just slow down and be. There was no need to be racing towards something. Racing towards what? Racing towards retirement? I don't want to wait until, I don't even know what retirement age is, because whatever it is, that's not the age I'll be retiring.
Right.
I did not want to live this lifestyle of working hard to get to retirement, to get to a point where I'm too old to really enjoy retirement. I would like to find this balance of work and play, of just really loving and living life while doing something that I love and supporting others, which I've found in public relations in forming DE 1989.
That's amazing. I love that journey. I love that story. It's inspiring. Just the idea of, even if people can't go abroad or take this much time, or as much time, I should say, as you were blessed to be able to take, it still is just a great idea of stepping back and deciding, it sounds like deciding what you really want, what you want your life to look like, what you envision for yourself. Like you said, this balance of work and play, I think is beautiful.
Exactly. It was this moment of, well, I don't have a mortgage, I don't have kids. If this is what my career is going to be like, if this is what corporate America is like, let me take this time off while I have no responsibilities. Let me enjoy the moment right now, and then come back and jump back in.
Right. So when you were ready to jump back in, did you know at that point that you would start your own public relations firm? Did you have an idea of what was going to be next? What was the first step to launching the agency?
The first step, I was about to curse. I don't know if I'm allowed to
You're
curse.
Allowed to.
But when I came back to the U.S., I had this moment. Well, for one, I was hoping to be abroad far longer than I was. I got homesick. I missed my friends. I missed my family, and just wanted to come back. So I came back well rested, happy, fresh eyes, a little slimmer. So I was very happy. But I by the time I got back home, I had this moment of, oh shit, what did I do? Why did I leave this great job? Like, why am I putting myself through this? I had this moment of, oh my God, I just took all this time off. No one's going to want to hire me. This industry is constantly moving, constantly changing. What do I have to bring to the table? Why would anyone want to hire me at this point? I've ruined it for me. So I actively started looking for jobs right away. And yet again, the same person who gave me a recommendation to go work over at another large agency here in New York City. So I started there working on a great pharmaceutical account. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the industry that agencies win and lose accounts. And whenever they lose accounts, there are typically rounds of layoffs. The agency I was working for lost many accounts, went through many layoffs. Fortunately, I was never laid off, but with every round of layoffs, tensions grew within the company. It became a very toxic environment for me. I wasn't crazy about the accounts that I was working on. I found myself yet again helping my friends on the side. So it was a slow progression to, okay, I'm already doing PR on the side. Why not brand this company, put a name to it, and officially launch?
Mm-hmm. And then you said you were doing some work for people, friends of yours, public relations type of work. And is that sort of what opened your eyes to, hey, maybe this is an opportunity for me?
Yeah, so a couple of the internships that I had while I was in college was public relations. A couple of my jobs, part-time jobs, had public relations functions. Within my group of friends at FIT, I was always the business major, so there was a natural flow of people coming to me for business related, PR related help, because everyone else within our circle was a creative major of sorts. So by the time I was becoming very unhappy with my full-time job, I had already had enough side projects and saw the potential of clients that I could have. And that really gave me the confidence to go ahead and form DE 1989 once and for all. So by the time I was quitting my job, my website was already up. My business cards were already ordered. I had already reached out to quite a few potential clients. Essentially, I hadn't officially announced. I hadn't publicly announced, but my business was already launched by the time I was quitting. I made sure to basically fix my bed, as some Haitians would say.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's something you recommend before people make that transition, if possible, to sort of see what you can set up before you make the jump?
I would say so. If you're launching a business alone, if you're going to be understaffed, underfunded, I would definitely try your best to keep that full-time job while you're in the launch stages. And if the nature of the business that you're in, if it's not possible to keep a full-time job while running a successful business on the side, I would definitely say create a list of things that you can accomplish for your business prior to quitting. So do as much of the legwork as possible prior to quitting your job. I made my list, and it was very important things to very silly things. Like silly things were things like go on a shopping spree because you will no longer have a steady paycheck.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. Other things are like set up the website first, make sure it's all designed and laid out, send whatever emails you can send out before, during, and after work. So anything, I did not want my time to be wasted. I recognized ahead of time that my hours that I'm going to be putting into this business are my biggest resource. So what can I spend time on now before quitting my job that I won't have to spend time on later once I'm in it, immersed in it fully?
That's great advice. Now, in a great feature on you on officialblackwallstreet.com, I noticed that they asked you, what is public relations, which is a smart question. And you said that's a question that many people don't ask. So I was curious if you could define for us what public relations is.
Absolutely. So many people, that article, great article, came out not too long ago. Mm-hmm. It was advice based on the questions that I get asked very often. And I was surprised by how much I get asked, what is public relations? It could be defined in many ways. What it's not is, it's not marketing, it's not advertising, it's not promotion. It's really the actions you take to change public opinion about your brand, your business. Hopefully you're changing public opinion to the better, to the positive, to hopefully lead to a certain action, whether it's them coming to an event, purchasing your product or services. It's really the act of changing public opinion.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say that, what has been, I should say, for you, the key to acquiring clients? Because I know you have such a diverse roster. I've interviewed many of Eddie's wonderful clients who I love. But what would
Thank you for that.
Of course. What would you say? Well, thank you, because you're representing them so well. But what would you say has been what would you say is your top tip for people who may have their own agency or work in public relations and want to know the best way to get clients? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I was just thinking about the clients you do have in fashion and entrepreneurs and entertainment. And I know getting clients is one of the biggest things for people that can be a challenge.
For sure. For us in the beginning, despite of having my friends who were already my clients at launch, for us, I went crazy cold pitching. I did a lot of research. If I came across someone on Instagram, if I came across someone on an article, I would do the research, find their contact, and reach out. That didn't always work. What worked for me is networking. I try to be very picky about the networking events I attend, and when I attend them, I try to scope out what the best events are going to be and make sure I'm present. Cold pitching doesn't work for us. Meeting people in person, that first impression is everything. I could be emailing the same person 3 or 4 times or more over the course of a month and have it lead to nothing. But I meet that same person in one night, there's a spark, and by next week or by next month, they're a client. Mm-hmm. So networking has been great for us.
About networking, just a quick question. You said that you're very selective in the type of events that you go to. What's an ideal networking event look like for you? Is it the setup? Is it the people who are going to be there? Is it a combination of things?
It's a combination of things. The location is everything. No riffraff location. Location is everything. The host is everything. The sponsors, those are all great indicators of what type of environment and what type of people are going to be there. Those are the things we look at. I also check out if it's a series. I look at photos from previous events, who's been there before. But yes, location, hosts, sponsors, those are all great indicators. But something that's worked even better for us are referrals. The majority of our clients, and this is something I'm very proud of, has been based on referrals. Mm-hmm. People I've worked with in the past, within and outside of my business, have just been referring potential clients, and it's been amazing.
Excellent. And what would you say during those in-person meetings or moments? You mentioned that spark. Is it the spark of being able to pitch in person, or is it really about connection?
It's mostly about connection. For me, having worked on accounts that I wasn't very pleased with, now owning my own agency, it's very important to me that I genuinely like the product that I'm working on and the people I'm working with. With this business, it's just like any other friendship or relationship. You want to make sure you know the person you're working with and you get along great. I don't necessarily go for everyone.
Right.
And as far as pitching yourself, you have to be well represented. You have to speak well and know your business well and know your industry well and really be intrigued by the client and the industry that they're in. You know, I have a genuine interest in the businesses that I work on, in my clients' products and brands.
Now, on the client side, for anyone listening who wants to get more press coverage for their business, what would you say, again, putting you on the spot, what would you say is one key tip?
One key tip for exposure for your own business, I would definitely say networking again, researching, following up and following through. Researching is a great part of it. You know, if you're looking for exposure for your business, it's important that you research the right outlets where you would want to be seen and follow up accordingly with the right editors, writers, and follow through.
How important is it, too, to be able to really articulate your own story?
It is very important. You want the person you're talking to, the person who's reading about you, whether they're interested in your product or service or not, you want them to come away really understanding what it is that you do and what it is that you offer, because you never know who they'll refer you to and how they'll refer you.
Right. And is that something that you help your clients with as well? Getting clear on their story, I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, it is something that we help with. So most of our clients, by the time they're working with us, they've already launched, they've already either worked with a brand strategist or did it on their own. I make sure that at the beginning of every project that we have clear goals and clear objectives, and setting those clear goals and objectives really helps us craft the story that we're trying to tell, that we want to tell.
And your clients have included or include like Rue 107 and Ascania Chocolate. And do you still work with VP Records?
I do still work with VP Records.
Yeah.
We are currently working on the Grace Jamaican Jerk Festival, which is coming up this summer. Everyone will be hearing more about that. That is underway. They have a wide array of artists that they represent and singles that they're currently pushing, one of which is Ludi by Shinsia. Great music video, great song. It's definitely going to be the anthem of the summer, at least my anthem.
Right, your anthem. I love it.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the greatest challenge that has taught you the greatest lesson in having your own business so far?
The greatest challenge, let's see, this is a tough one. I would say, as small business owners, we tend to put more trust in what others can do for us than in what we can do for ourselves. I definitely did this in the beginning, and we're still at the beginning. We're only 2 years old now, going into our third year in business. While, yes, I want to collaborate with and bring on talented and motivated people, I learned the hard way that I am more than enough. I am intelligent and capable. While I may not have all the answers, who does, really? Everything that I want to accomplish, whether it's for myself or for clients, it starts with me.
Mm-hmm. How did you come to that realization? Was it just working over time and discovering that you're enough, or was it deciding that you're enough?
It was a combination of deciding and discovering. So it all goes back to networking, right? When we're out there, we're all networking with a purpose, hopefully. We're always looking for the right mentor, for the right partner, for the right investor. We look for all the answers in everything else rather than really sitting down and thinking, what can I do? How can I strategize better? Where do I begin to get to this one thing? What are the right questions to plug into Google to get to that right answer? It's how I came to that. So I started putting a lot of trust in others. I went after business partners who I just trusted too much too soon. Mm-hmm. And then quickly realized, wow, I'm putting myself out there, networking, looking to meet new people. But then I forgot my own immediate network. I forgot to network within my network. Mm-hmm. I was constantly looking outside of my circle, and a few things happened that made me realize I really don't need to look into outside of my circle that much. One of the things that made me realize this is because the majority of our clients now were referrals. Only one of the clients and the projects I've secured over the past 2 years, only 1 or 2 have been from cold pitches. Everyone has really been referrals, and the people I met, funny enough, the people I would meet networking, the people who would sign on with me right away are people that I knew from a past life, mm-hmm. That I'm now meeting again for the first time as business owner, that are essentially responding well to me in person.
All in the right timing, right?
Exactly.
What would you say entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
As a woman, it has taught me, wow. Well, this is a tough question, mm-hmm. Because I'm a Leo. We're known to be a bit out there. So I'm sort of like, well, everything it taught me, I already knew about myself. It's really taught me how strong I am and how independent I can be and how capable I am. I continue to amaze myself every day. The things I accomplish, the places I find myself. It's not that I never thought I could, I guess it's very humbling in a way to see how far I've come, to see how capable I really am. I think a lot of times I meet a lot of people who are at this phase of should I, shouldn't I? I have this great idea. What do I do? I have this great idea, but I'm not going to because XYZ. Entrepreneurship has really taught me and shown me how much we're all capable of as women. Until you get out there and just do it, you're really not going to know and see for yourself that this thing is possible. You're not going to see that you should unless you actually just do it.
Now, one of the things you've done recently is started hosting, I should say, workshops to help people with, I guess, some of those questions that you just mentioned that people are asking themselves, but also this idea of public relations and how to get coverage and that kind of thing. Or explain to us what the format is for some of the workshops that you've done and how you see it looking moving forward?
For sure. So yes, we launched a series called DE Fundamentals, and under DE Fundamentals, we're going to have a series of dinners, panels, and workshops. So we've launched the workshops. I launched this workshop because of the feedback I was getting from potential clients. Whenever we did pictures, I would approach a potential client and they would say to me, well, I've been burned by a publicist before, or PR doesn't work, or what is PR? I don't get it. I quickly realized, okay, in order to finally find I do have amazing clients now, but in order to get to the jewel in our crown of clientele, I have to educate my little network as a whole on what PR is and how they can get better exposure for themselves so that whether they're working with me or another agency, they're better equipped to have these conversations. They're better equipped to run their own PR campaign or be a better client for another agency, for another publicist. So our workshops are once a month, once every 3 weeks. The next one is coming up on May 9th. Essentially, they're 3 hours. We have a lot of fun. They've molded themselves. When it comes to business, I like to create something, put it out there, see what shapes it takes, and work with that. So far, they've molded themselves into these amazing business powwows of business owners having champagne, discussing their different challenges as it relates to PR. But leaving the workshop, you'll be able to hopefully run a successful PR campaign on a budget. You'll know enough if you're someone who's deciding whether or not you want to make a career change into PR, you should hopefully know enough at the end of the workshop to decide if this is something you want to get into. A huge part of it is really brainstorming and networking with other professionals, learning from their challenges. We invite different writers, influencers, editors to come in as guest speakers. Our last guest speaker was actually one of my clients, Andrea Pitter from Pinter Bridal. She covered how to grow a niche social media following. So we pair PR insights with other topics, other channels that will help boost your exposure. Another guest speaker we had shared branding and design tips. Another upcoming guest will be speaking on how to run a successful influencer program. We try to make it worthwhile, which really try to bring value to our participants. I don't want it to be, I paid all this money. And by the way, it is not a lot of money. I shouldn't even say that. It is very affordable. But we don't want our guests to come in and walk away feeling like, okay, well, this was just a business pitch for why I should be a DE 1989 client. No, that's not what it is at all. We really want you to walk away having learned how to run your own campaign or be better equipped to have this conversation, whether it's with me as a publicist or another agency or another publicist, to really just get yourself great results, get your business great results.
And this is open to the public, right?
It is open to the public. You can visit our website. It's de1989.co/de-fundamentals. All the information with the upcoming workshops will be there. You can register. Right now, they're all in person at our office in downtown Manhattan. Right outside the charging bowl, right next to the Fearless Girl. I'm very proud to have an office right next to the Fearless Girl. Yeah, so you'll come to our workshop. On your way into our office building, you'll see the Fearless Girl. So yes, right now they're in person, but in the second half of the year, we are going to turn it into webinars. So wherever you are, you'll be able to attend from the comfort of your office or your home.
Very smart. That's a good way to expand. I love it. Such a great idea. I think that was one of the things of the many fabulous things that you're doing that really made me say, you need to come on the show and talk about this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And I had a little heart attack.
Yeah, you had a mini heart attack, right? But you're here. We're happy you're here. That's great. So for everyone listening, I'll make sure I have a link. I'll get the link from Eddie for that so you can find out more about the workshops and the schedule and all the things that are coming up. May 9th is the next one you mentioned, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure there'll be more after that. Excellent. I love that. Now, what would you say your support network looks like? You're doing all of these fantastic things and all of these clients. Who's supporting you in your business or otherwise?
I have an amazing support system. I am in a unique position where my clients also serve as my support network. Mm-hmm. But I find it interesting that a lot of my clients are older than I am, and naturally they take on this role of mentor. A lot of my clients have owned the business longer than I have, so by default, they have a lot to share with me when it comes to running a business. I bring the PR expertise. They sort of help me with other things. I'm constantly learning from my clients, and I love it. Hopefully none of them are listening because they might start charging me.
Right, for therapy sessions.
Right, but we've built that trust and understanding and admiration for each other where we have each other's backs. But aside from my own network of clients, I am a member of various communities and networks. I recently joined Ivy, which is a social university. Speaking of networking again, with PR, it seems to always go back to networking, right? Mm-hmm. They curate the most amazing events that I recently started attending. I am a member of Minorities in Media, which you should definitely join if you're not a member. It's free to join. It's just a society of us fabulous brown folks of different nationalities helping each other constantly. I'm also a member of PRSA, which is the Public Relations Society of America. So within any one of these networks, I could post a question, make an announcement, and within minutes, I have an answer or some form of valuable feedback. What else? I recently was brought into this program that the mayor's office here in New York City is doing called the Ladders for Leaders program. It's a summer internship program where they provide qualified interns to companies that have open positions for interns. This year is my second year participating, and I'm looking forward to it. I've recommended the program to quite a few of our clients, and they love it.
The Ladders for Leaders?
Yes, program. Mm-hmm. I will find the link and share it with you so you can have it up. Great resource to be able to tap into.
And this is how you get your summer interns. Summer
interns, yes. And fantastic. I was going to say other interns, I've been able to tap into the FIT career board here. I've worked with PACE students. I've worked with St. John students. All the colleges here in New York City have great career boards where they're constantly looking for job opportunities for their interns. They've all been a great resource. But come summertime, Ladders for Leaders is an amazing resource.
Fantastic.
And they have a deadline coming up in May if you'd like to be a part of it. This is my commercial for Ladders for Leaders.
I see. That's great. Coming up in May. What's the deadline in May?
I'm not sure. It's end of May. Okay. The program starts end of June. But the deadline is end of May. I don't know what it is exactly, but I will find all this information, share it with you so you can include it in your post.
Oh, perfect. And this way, this will definitely be up before the end of May, probably early May. So this way, everyone will be able to find out and go over there and try to apply if it's still open.
Yeah, it's free to participate. Companies big and small participate. If you can afford to pay, then you pay. If you can't afford to pay, then you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I love about it.
Exactly. Are the interns mostly doing it for credit? Well, I guess through the schools it's more so credit, but Ladders for Leaders, do you know if it's for credit or is it just through their program? I guess they set it up however.
I actually don't know if the interns earn college credit, but they are paid through the program.
Okay.
So whether you yourself as the employer can afford to pay or not, the interns are paid.
Okay. That's great. I think that's such a great suggestion. Well, one, it sounds like a great program, but outside of that too, I know a lot of entrepreneurs are either wanting interns or currently looking for interns, don't know where to look and that kind of thing. So it's a great idea, as you just mentioned, Ladders for Leaders, but also looking at your local schools, wherever you are, your local universities on the job boards or career boards, and letting them know or seeing who's looking for internships. Or I guess you can post there as well.
Yeah, most colleges make it very easy to post a listing. And there's also internships.com. If you can't tell, I rely heavily on interns.
No, that's great.
Internships.com also makes it very easy. You could find interns who are willing to work remotely. But my number one tip is if you can't pay, definitely make sure they're at least earning college credit.
Right. I think that I've advised people of that too, because this way, well, not only do you feel like they're getting something out of it, but also they feel like they're getting something out of it and they're accountable in some way.
Exactly.
Right. Because otherwise it's like, oh, my intern just quit and I don't know where they are sometimes. Not all the times. I was an intern for many places, many years. I was hardworking, but everybody's not like that, right?
I wish everyone was like you and I.
Right. Oh, thank you. Those are great resources. I'll make sure to link to everything. So in closing, Eddie, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
You asked the hardest question.
Yay!
Oh my goodness. This is like Oscar speech worthy questions. One person that I had to thank, I would have to say my mother. You know, she's been my champion. If it wasn't for her, all those other people who are worth thanking would have never come to be. You know, if she never said, go ahead, do what you want. Go ahead, go to college in another city. Go ahead and pursue advertising, even though I'm not quite clear on what it is. All those other people who entered my life would have never been, I would have never met. So it really all started with her, and I will have to thank her. I need to love her harder and start answering her calls more often.
I love it. Your mom will love this, that she gets some extra love out of it.
I hope she loves it.
Yay, very nice. Thank you for sharing that with us.
But thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for creating this amazing platform. This is very much needed. I've been listening to you more and more often. I have to be honest, I don't listen every day, but when I do listen, I listen to upwards of 4 episodes in a row.
That's okay. You can binge. I'm like Netflix over here. I'll take it.
I binge.
So tell us how we can support you. Your website, social media. Of course, I'll have links to everything, but anything that you want us to know. Also the workshops, of course. But let us know how we can support you.
How you can support me, definitely follow us on social media. We're at DE1989CO on all channels. Just be there to cheer our wins.
Cheer our wins. And it's 1989.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Visit our website. Email me if you have any questions about services or if you have any questions about PR as a whole. Any way that I could be a resource to anyone, I'm happy to be. My email address is on all my social media. It's on our website. All my information is very public. Find me, reach out, say hello. That's really it.
Excellent. Eddie, thank you so much. This was so fun. I'm so glad that how long ago did we meet? A year ago? 2 years maybe? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I'm so glad we're connected.
This might be our 1-year anniversary.
It's our anniversary. Yay.
Yes, I think it was exactly a year ago.
Excellent.
It feels like much longer.
It feels like much longer.
Wouldn't it be interesting if today was the date that we met up for coffee?
I know. I'm going to have to look back in my phone, see if I have it in there. But I'm so glad to connect with you. And thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Thanks for having me. I hope I was a great guest.
You are a great guest, of course. Now, before you go, what's a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything?
About anything, I would have to say support your network. Be someone who brings value to your family and friends. I mean, that value comes in different shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to be monetary. Just find ways to bring value to your community, your surroundings.
Excellent.
Be a good human.
Be a good human, exactly. Eddie, thank you so much. Hold on just a second. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Eddie. Again, be sure to go to supportissexypodcast.com. Just search Eddie, Eddie, in the search box. Her show notes page will pop up, as well as all the links to all the resources she mentioned. And you can find out more information about the courses and workshops that Eddie and her team are putting together to learn more about public relations. Also, thank you so much for listening to the Support is Sexy podcast. Whether this is your first time or you've been here time and time before, I so appreciate you. What I want to make sure you do, though, is subscribe to the podcast. So wherever you're listening, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. We'll be here for you. So make sure you subscribe. All right. Thank you again so much for listening. And for now, you know what to do. Go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.